Every morning at 5:30, I tied my apron at Grandpa James' diner in Northeast Portland, serving coffee to tired construction workers and early bird retirees. My hands smelled like grease and dish soap. My feet ached, and I earned $8 an hour, plus whatever tips people could spare. Meanwhile, my older brother Jake would cruise past in his black Audi Q7, designer sunglasses on, leather briefcase in the passenger seat, heading to his downtown law firm, where he billed $300 an hour. He'd slow down just enough to smirk at me through the window, shaking his head like I was some kind of failure. When Grandpa died, Jake inherited the $800,000 house in the suburbs. I got the rundown diner worth $50,000, and I felt completely betrayed. Hook 1. But what if that old diner held a secret worth more than any fancy house? I thought Grandpa loved me until I found the letter hidden in his old desk drawer. And everything changed. James' Corner Diner sat on a quiet street in Northeast Portland, Oregon, the kind of neighborhood where working families had lived for generations. The building was 70 years old with faded red vinyl booths, a checkerboard floor that had seen better decades, and a jukebox in the corner that only played songs from the 1960s. The neon sign outside flickered sometimes, especially when it rained, which in Portland meant almost every day from October through May. I'm Lily, 24 years old, and I've been working at that diner since I was 16. When I turned 20, I made the hardest decision of my life. I dropped out of Portland State University, where I'd been studying elementary education, because Grandpa James got diagnosed with heart failure. Someone had to help him run the diner, and someone had to drive him to his heart appointments every Tuesday at the Providence Heart Clinic. That someone was me. My brother Jake, 28, had a different path. He graduated from Lewis and Clark Law School, landed a position at Morrison Fletcher downtown, and within 3 years became one of their top attorneys specializing in business lawsuits. He wore Tom Ford suits, carried a Mont Blanc pen, and lived in a sleek Pearl District apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Willamette River. But here's what Jake didn't do. He didn't visit Grandpa. Maybe once every 2 months, he'd show up for 20 minutes, always checking his phone, always with some excuse about a meeting or a client dinner. He'd call on the first Sunday of each month, a quick 5-minute conversation where he'd ask how Grandpa was doing, but never really listen to the answer. I was the one who held Grandpa's hand in the doctor's waiting room. I was the one who learned to cook his signature blueberry pancakes exactly the way he'd made them for 50 years. I was the one who stayed after closing, helping him count the register, even though his fingers shook so badly he kept losing track. Hook 2. Want to know the hidden truth that flipped our fortunes forever? Every Sunday, Grandpa and I had dinner together in the back booth. He'd make his famous pot roast, and we'd talk about everything. He told me stories about Grandma Ellen, who'd passed when I was just a baby. He told me how they'd opened the diner in 1973 with their life savings, $3,000, and a dream of feeding their community. He showed me the spot where he'd proposed to her, right by the coffee station. Jake never came to those Sunday dinners. He was always too busy. One Saturday morning in late November, Jake pulled up outside the diner in his Audi. He actually came inside, which shocked me and our regulars. Mrs. Chin, who'd been eating breakfast at table 4 every Saturday for years, raised an eyebrow. Tom, the retired mechanic at the counter, paused mid-bite of his eggs. Grandpa was in the back resting. Jake slid into a booth without waiting to be seated. I approached with a menu, but he waved it away. "Coffee, black," he said. Then, leaning back like he owned the place, "How's the old man doing?" "He's managing," I said, pouring the coffee. "We need to talk about the future. This place is a money pit. When he's gone, we should sell it. Split the proceeds." "It's Grandpa's legacy," I said. He laughed. "Legacy? It's a greasy spoon in a dying neighborhood. I'm trying to help you, Lily. You're wasting your life here." I didn't respond. He finished his coffee, tossed a $5 bill on the table like it was charity, and left. That was the last time he saw Grandpa alive. Grandpa James died peacefully in his sleep 3 weeks later. He was 82. The funeral was small, just family and the regulars from the diner. Jake showed up in his suit, made a short speech about Grandpa's work ethic, then checked his watch and left early for a meeting. The will reading happened 2 days later at the lawyer's office downtown. Mr. Thompson, Grandpa's attorney for 30 years, read it slowly. To my grandson Jake, I leave my house at 452 Willow Lane, valued at approximately $800,000. Jake smiled. To my granddaughter Lily, I leave James Corner Diner, including the building and all contents. That was it. No cash. No stocks. Just the diner, which we all knew was worth maybe $50,000 on a good day. Jake didn't even try to hide his satisfaction. Looks like Grandpa knew who the responsible one was, he said, clapping me on the back a little too hard. I signed the papers in silence. Drove back to the diner alone. The place felt empty without Grandpa. I sat at the counter, staring at the spot where he'd always drink his afternoon coffee. Why, Grandpa? Why give me the diner and him the house? I thought you loved me. That's when I decided to clean out his office in the back. Maybe there were papers I needed. Maybe I just wanted to feel close to him one last time. His desk was cluttered with receipts, old menus, a half-empty bottle of whiskey. In the bottom drawer, under a stack of yellowed newspapers, I found the letter. Sealed envelope. My name on it in Grandpa's shaky handwriting. I opened it carefully. Dear Lily, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I know you're probably confused about the will. I know Jake got the house and you got the diner. Let me explain. That house is worth money, sure. But money without wisdom is poison. Jake thinks he's smart. He thinks success is suits and cars and big offices. But he's never worked a real day in his life. He's never built anything with his hands. He's never looked a customer in the eye and made their day better. The diner isn't just a building. It's a lesson. It's hard work. It's community. It's everything I tried to teach you both. You already know that. Jake needs to learn it. Sell the diner if you want. But before you do, look closer. There's more here than meets the eye. I love you, kiddo. You've always been my favorite. Don't tell Jake. Grandpa. I read it 3 times. Then I started looking. Really looking. I checked the office walls. The floorboards. The ceiling. Nothing. Then I remembered Grandpa's stories about the diner's history. How during Prohibition, it had been a speakeasy with hidden compartments. I started in the kitchen. Behind the old cast-iron stove, there was a loose panel. I pried it open. Inside was a metal box. Locked. The key was taped to the bottom of Grandpa's desk drawer. Inside the box, deeds, bank statements, investment records. Grandpa had been buying up property around the diner for years. Quietly. Parcels of land. Empty lots. Old buildings. All in the neighborhood. All now mine. Valued at over $2.5 million. The area was being redeveloped. A new light rail line coming through. Tech companies moving in. Property values skyrocketing. Grandpa had seen it coming. He'd prepared. For me. There was another letter in the box. This one with instructions. Develop the properties wisely. Keep the diner as the heart of it all. Build something lasting. I sat on the kitchen floor, papers spread around me, and cried. Not from sadness. From understanding. Grandpa hadn't betrayed me. He'd trusted me. With everything. I hired a real estate developer the next week. We drew up plans. Condos, shops, a community center. But the diner stayed. I renovated it. New booths, updated kitchen, same checkerboard floor. Same jukebox. Same blueberry pancakes. Jake called me 2 months later. Hey sis. Heard you're selling the diner. Need help with the paperwork? No, I said. I'm keeping it. He laughed. Why? That place is a money loser. It's not about the money. Of course it is. Everything is. Not everything. He hung up. The development broke ground 6 months later. The neighborhood changed. But for the better. We kept affordable housing units. Local businesses got priority. The diner became the anchor. Packed every day. I hired more staff. Raised wages. Donated profits to local schools. A year after Grandpa died, the diner was thriving. We expanded the menu. Added outdoor seating. Hosted community events. Sunday dinners became a tradition again. Pot roast, just like Grandpa's. His coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Portland Monthly magazine ran a feature calling us the city's best-kept secret, and suddenly we weren't so secret anymore. The lines on Saturday morning stretched down the block. Mrs. Chin still had her table, and Tom still had his counter seat, but now they were joined by food bloggers and families from across the river and tourists who'd read about us on TripAdvisor. I'd hired 3 new staff members. I'd paid off my student loans. I'd moved into a small apartment with exposed brick and big windows. I wasn't rich, not by any measure, but I was happy. I was proud. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Jake, I heard through the family grapevine, had a different year. He'd sold Grandpa's house immediately, just like Grandpa predicted, for $795,000. He'd invested heavily in some tech startup his law firm represented. That startup went bankrupt 6 months later. Then one of his biggest clients sued him for malpractice, claiming he'd missed a crucial filing deadline. The Oregon State Bar opened an investigation. His firm let him go quietly. No announcement, just a cleaned-out office and a severance package that barely covered his legal defense. He lost his Pearl District apartment. He lost his Audi. He lost everything he'd used to measure his worth. On a rainy Tuesday morning in March, exactly 1 year and 1 month after Grandpa's funeral, Jake walked into my diner. He didn't swagger. He didn't smirk. He wore jeans and a wrinkled button-down shirt, and he looked smaller somehow, like life had physically diminished him. He sat at the counter. I poured him coffee without asking. We'd both learned that ritual from Grandpa. "Place looks good," he said quietly. "Really good. Thank you. I heard you're doing well. Packed every weekend." "We're busy." "I'm grateful." He stirred his coffee even though he drank it black. Finally, he looked up at me. "Lily, I need help. I lost my job. Lost everything, actually. I know I don't deserve to ask, but I need work. I'll do anything. Wash dishes, take out trash, whatever you need." I studied him. My brother, who'd mocked me for years, who'd called me a waitress like it was an insult, who'd taken $800,000 and blown through it in 12 months. Part of me wanted to tell him to leave. Part of me wanted revenge. But I heard Grandpa's voice in my head. "Love means giving people what they need." "Kitchen," I said. "Dishwasher. $10 an hour to start. You show up on time. You work hard. And you treat everyone with respect, especially the servers." His eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. It's hard work." He worked harder than I'd ever seen him work. He showed up 15 minutes early every shift. He scrubbed pots until they gleamed. He helped Tom to his car when it rained. He learned everyone's names. 3 months in, he came to me during his break. "I get it now," he said. "What Grandpa was trying to teach me. He gave me money because he knew I'd lose it. He gave you something I couldn't destroy. He gave us both exactly what we needed." I smiled. "Took you long enough to figure that out. Family isn't about what you inherit. It's about what you choose to build." Have you ever felt underestimated by the people who were supposed to love you most? Have you discovered that the smallest gifts sometimes carry the biggest meaning? Share your story in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, subscribe for more tales of justice, redemption, and family legacies that truly matter.